Ranking Tottenham players halfway through the season. Now, I haven't done one of these for a long time, and I figured, we're at the halfway point. It is now 2022. We're in January and the transfer window is open. So I thought I'll do a little quick sort of review of every individual player of their season so far, and it'll kind of give a little hint on which players I think we should probably keep and which ones I think we should probably sell. Now, of course, as with all these videos, I've got to put a disclaimer at the beginning. These are just my opinion and my opinion only. You have every right to disagree. So I want to know in the comment section down below if you disagreed with anything that I've said in this video. Now, if you want me to do another one of these, but sort of ranking our transfer targets for January, let me know in the comment section as well. I know I've been neglecting my YouTube for quite a bit now, and I really want to make 2022 a top year for this channel and for all you guys that are watching. And starting off with Steven Bergvine, a player that I thought did very, very well in his first 3 games under Nuno, and then unfortunately, like with a lot of our players at that time, got injured on international duty. He didn't even make it there, I'm pretty sure. And to be honest with you, I think that kind of messed his chances. He was injured for most of the rest of Nuno's time, and then Conte came in and he kind of basically hasn't had much of a chance at all. And Conte says he's going to try and turning him into a striker. So any appearances that he has made, he's made up top, kind of alongside Harry Kane or Son. So to be honest with you, I don't really think there's much to go on. I can't exactly say he's been poor because he hasn't played that much, but then also is there a reason why he hasn't played? You know what, I'm going to stick him in average purely because I think he looked good to begin with and then just really hasn't had a chance since. So I think average is a fair judgment. Ben Davies. Now, Ben Davies, since Conte has come in, has actually been quality for us. In that back 3, I think that left centre-back role suits him very, very well. So you know what, to be honest with you, I think it's between top and good, but I'm going to put him at a very high good for now, because if I'm also being honest, that is sort of position I think that we need strengthening in terms of getting in a top quality left-footed, left-sided centre-back. And I think that's an area that Conte wants to develop as well in our squad. So I think he'll just be at the top of good so far this season. Or should I say so far under Conte. Dele Alli, I mean, he had one amazing game under Conte. Before that, looked pretty poor under Nuno, was sort of forced into almost like in a way, a defensive midfield role. But then when he started against Southampton, just didn't look good again. If I'm being totally honest, I think it's time to sell him. I love Dele to bits and what he's done for the club. But right now, I think we're better off just selling him and bringing in a new midfielder instead. Eric Dier, again, it is so similar to Ben Davies in the sense that he was one of the players last year, and I'm pretty sure you would have seen it in the other ranking videos. I was saying we need to get rid of him, we probably need to sell him, we can do better. But since Conte's come in, he has improved massively, and I tell you what, has barely put a foot wrong this season so far. I can only think of maybe 1 or 2 mistakes this season that were personally down to him. The rest of them, I think he's made that sort of central defender role his own, really. Is it enough to put him at the top? We haven't even really been our best this season. So I'm going to say out of the players from our squad, he has been top. You've got to give a player credit where credit's due. I think he's been one of the most consistent players in the squad by a mile. Again, probably one that I would look to strengthen in the future, but I do think at the moment is one of our least concerns. But moving on to the next player, Matt Doherty, and then there's a lot of news right now that he could be going back to Wolves, and I think it's a pretty obvious sell. I'll be the first one to admit, when we signed him, I thought it was an absolute steal, because you've got to remember at the time as well, he was only second behind Trent for the most goals created and I think the most assists of fullbacks at that time across the 2 seasons prior. So to sign him for what I think was maybe 12 mil seemed like an absolute bargain. It just, for whatever reason, has not worked out. We've got Emerson as competition, but I think Conte definitely wants another right wing back. Yeah, sell Doherty. Speaking of Emerson, he is next. Now, you know what? I've seen a lot of people slandering him recently. I do understand some of the criticisms. Yes, his crossing and shooting definitely needs to improve. However, what I will say is I think he actually has been very defensively sound for the most part. He definitely doesn't seem to be as much of a liability defensively as Aurier was before. And I do feel a little bit more comfortable with Emerson playing than Doherty. I think the only difference now is under Conte, because so much of our play is due to the wing backs and how they get forward, his crossing has been highlighted massively, and we kind of feel like if he had better crossing would definitely have a lot more goals, which is definitely true, but I also don't think he's been awful. I think someone did like the percentage successful cross attempts, and he was something like 22%. Trent was 23%, Cancelo was 22%, James I think was 21% even, so he's sort of doing similar numbers to these other players. However, I do know he needs to improve massively. but I don't understand the massive slander on him, so I think I'm just going to go for average. Definitely an area that we could improve, but he's also young, right? He's 22 years old, new to the country. I don't think he speaks English that well, so it's a brand new team, and I see him improving, especially since that first game against Crystal Palace. Look at his performance against Crystal Palace at home and compare that to his first game against Crystal Palace away. He has definitely improved massively already, and I think fans are too quick to jump on players. Brian Hill, I haven't really got a place for him. He's a top prospect, obviously very young, but also hasn't played. You know what? I'm going to change this bottom category to poor/not seen enough. I'm not saying he's been poor, I'm just saying we have not seen enough of him to make any sort of judgment, so we'll stick him in that category. Now, trying to get through a bit quicker, Gellini, again, hasn't played much. Since Conte's come in, I don't think he's really played at all, maybe a couple games, but there's already talks of us wanting to sell him and potentially bring in another backup goalkeeper, suggesting that he's not good enough. So I think the poor/not seen enough category kind of fits him. So there we go, into there. Højbjerg, now this one, I'll admit, I love the guy to bits. I thought he was one of our best players last season and definitely the most consistent. However, I must say, I do think he's dropped off the pace a little bit this year. I don't know what it is about it. I feel like we tend to lose possession a little bit more than we did with him last year. I can't tell you why. I don't know if it's down to his tiredness. He's played a lot of games over the last year, the last couple of seasons. I think we look best when it's a skip Højbjerg midfield. But what I will say is I do think Højbjerg has not been anywhere near his top level yet. I'm gonna just say average. Definitely not his best season so far. But then again, his leadership and character is something we do need in the squad, so it's a bit 50-50. Midfield is definitely an area I think Conte is trying to strengthen in this squad. Harry Kane. Okay, now this is going to be an interesting one because we have to take the whole season into account. While yes, he has improved massively. He scored 3 in a row recently. Looked like he's picking up a bit of form again. Looks like he's happy being under Conte. But we have to be real. Harry Kane is a world-class striker and he's not putting in world-class performances. So looking at his season on a whole so far, he has to go in the poor category. But what I will say is I do think he's going to have a much better second half of the season. Also, let me know if you think we will actually sell him this summer, because I think there's some different opinions out there and I want to know what you guys think. Hugo Lloris. Sorry, I have to give him a clap. I have to give him a clap because I feel like he is not getting the credit that he deserves. All the pundits and all of these fans on Twitter and whatever are banging on about Ramsdale and this, that and the other. But I think purely because, one, he's a Tottenham player. 2, because he's been around for a while, it's kind of going under the radar, but I genuinely do think Lloris is having one of his best seasons as a Spurs goalkeeper. And if I'm being honest, one of the best goalkeepers in the league right now. Him, Ramsdale and Jose Sarr, I think have been top quality this year. So Lloris, for me, 100% going in the top category. All we need him to do now is sign the contract. I know Conte says he wants to get a deal done. Spurs want to get a deal done. We want to see it as well. Come on, Hugo. Geo, I'm going to say sell. I backed this guy for a while. I said give him a chance to see what he can do. But to be honest with you, from what I've seen so far, it's not been great. I mean, even Højbjerg has got more goals and more assists this season than I think Geo has for us overall, which is, yeah, pretty poor. And similar sort of situation to Delhi. I would rather we sort of sold Lo Celso to then bring in another top midfielder. Let me know if you agree with me there. Lucas Mora, I think, is having probably another sort of Lucas Mora season. Some great goals that he scored for us, but then also plenty of games where he doesn't seem to be involved as much. So I think I'm going to stick him in the good category. I think he's definitely been better than average. I think our best team has him, Son and Kane up top. However, he doesn't seem to score or provide every single week. So I can't really put him in a top category. This next one's going to hurt a little bit. Speaking of midfielders that have not really performed to the standard I thought they would, Tanguy and Ndombele. Now, if you guys have been watching this channel for a while, you know for a fact that I love the guy. I think the quality he possesses is unreal. However, it clearly seems to be the sort of effort and the willingness to either perform Conte's plan. I mean, to be honest with you, I think he actually looked his best when Nuno was our manager because he was actually constantly getting minutes and getting his fitness up. But as soon as Conte's come in, that sort of gone massively downhill. So I'm stuck between poor and sell. he's just in a similar sort of boat as Dele and Lo Celso in the sense that if we can bring in a better midfielder, then we probably should sell him. I just wish it wasn't the case. So I'm going to have to reluctantly put him in sell, even though I do love him and I think he's an unbelievable talent. At the end of the day, if Conte thinks he's not putting in enough work, it's obviously not going to work out, right? Reguilón, again, another one for me that is similar to Emerson. I think it's an average season whereby I think he's got 4 goals and assists this season so far, which is pretty decent. He's definitely getting way more involved in the game under Conte, given the wing-back system. But it's a system I think he's pretty new to. So I think he's still, again, developing, still very young. I think he's doing okay, not amazing, but I would definitely not say he's been poor either. I think he's just been average, to be honest with you. Joe Rodon, I mean, not seen enough. Similar story to last season, barely played any minutes whatsoever. So if we sold him this January, I don't think I'd be too asked. I would like to have seen him get more minutes just to see what he's like, but we haven't seen anything, so, you know. Romero, oh yes, one of our, well, what I think would be one of our best players in this team, unfortunately suffered an injury on international duty. For me, I think he looked quality before he got his injury. I think we looked a lot more solid on the ball in defence when he was playing. But at the end of the day, we haven't really seen enough of him. So I'm going to put him in the not seen enough category just purely based on his injury, but I definitely would think if he had played, he would be in the good towards the top. Do you know what? I can already tell it now. I think some people 100% are going to skip to the end of this video. Seeing that I've put people like Romero in this category and think that I've just said he's poor. Absolutely not. This is why you need to watch the whole video through. Context is important. Davinson Sanchez, a player I think split 50-50 between fans. Similar to Dier, where I was saying that I think we probably should have sold him in the summer. I think we actively tried to sell him in the summer to Sevilla. So he stayed at the club. Since Romero's been injured, Sanchez has stepped up, played that right centre-back role. And I can't lie to you, I think in the past 6 games or so, I think Sanchez has been quality. Again, as they do, a couple of very shaky moments where you're worried, but you've got to give credit where credit's due. In the last 6 games or so, I think he's been pretty good play. He scored 2 goals. He's looked pretty solid at the back, winning a lot of headers. So I'm going to have to put him in good. If you told me last year that I'd be sticking Dier, Davis and Sanchez in the top 2 category, I'd be going mad. Yeah, there's been a bit of a crazy season so far. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said before, I think when Romero's fit, he definitely takes Sanchez's place. Since he has been playing recently, he has done well. So I'm going to put him in the good category. Ryan Sessing, another one, not seen enough. Looked pretty good actually when he played the couple of games where he was pushing for the place while Reguilón was out. But yeah, of course, he's only played a few games. So yeah, just not seen enough. Oliver Skipp, I think, has been one of our best players this season. I think what was it? We've won 8 out of the 12 games we've played with him and only won 1 out of the 5 without him. I think he's probably been one of our most, well, especially under Conte, should I say, been one of our most important central midfielders. I think Skipp has been one of our better players this season. Still a lot to learn, but for sure been top quality. Sonny! Oh, this is my guy, one of my favourite players at Spurs right now. I think I'm going to have to put him in good for now. I don't know if this is recency bias, but the past couple of games, he's not been great. Yes, he got the assist to Watford, but that was right in the last minute, and for the majority of the game, did not play well. There's been a few games like that this season. However, he has also produced winning goals this season as well. I'm not going to put him in the top category because I don't necessarily think he's played his best. Similar story to Kane, right? If you compare Son and Kane from last season to now, it's definitely not the same. But he has definitely been good for us. So I'm going to stick him, let's say he's at the top of the good category. Moving on to the final 2, we've got Jaffa Tanganga, who again, like a lot of these players, for me looked very good at the start of the season under Nuno. Had an amazing game against Man City, pocketed Grealish and Sterling in that first game really well. But by the time we got to the Crystal Palace game, obviously lost his head a bit, got red carded, and then since Conte's come in, has only played a few times in place of some injuries or COVID situations. I think we tried to experiment him at right wing back, and that just didn't really work out at all. He's definitely more of a right centre back in this current system that we have. So to be honest with you, I'm leaning towards, I'd say average, purely in the sense that when he has played, I think he's looked decent, but also he's not really played too many games for us. So yeah, it's between not seen enough and average, but I liked him when he did play. So let's say average for now. And then finally, Harry Winks, yet again, another player that I said have to get rid of last summer. We didn't. He stayed. Conte has now said that he is staying in January and will be with us for the rest of the season at least. And I can't lie as well, last 2 games has been very good for Spurs. Didn't think I was going to say that. Like I've said before, you've got to give credit where credit's due, no matter what you think about individual players. I actually think he's been quality the last couple of games. However, we are trying to look across the whole season so far. bottom of average. I kind of screwed myself over a little bit because these categories aren't set in stone. There should have been like an improving category. If I was to put an improving category, I would definitely think someone like Winks in there. So that's why I'm just going to slap him bang in the middle. Right, well, to be honest with you, I think that was a lot tougher than it was. I don't even know if I agree with myself on a few of these. There are some players I definitely want to see more of, like Romero, Hill. I think Kane's definitely doing a lot better now. Rodon, I wish we could see a lot more, but looks like he might be leaving in January. Same with Sessing. I'd like to see him a lot more as well, but unfortunately his injuries are kind of hindering him again. And it'll just be interesting to see what we do in this transfer window. So let me know if you agree or disagree with any of this. I totally understand if you disagree. It feels like a very weird season where things just haven't gone right at all and everything seems a bit upside down, especially looking at this graph. But I gave my best go at trying to see what our players have been like this season so far. I'm sure this will be totally different come the end of the season. And let me know if you want to see a transfer targets one as well. See you in the future, guys. Peace.